The annual Rivers Embrace Festival unfolded like a dream woven from twilight and ancient melodies. Lanterns like 1,000 captured fireflies cast a warm, flickering glow upon the faces of the revelers, painting transient smiles and hushed conversations in shades of gold and amber. A gentle breeze, carrying the intoxicating scent of damp earth and blooming night jasmine, danced through the crowd, mingling with the distant, rhythmic murmur of the city. Yet, amidst this idyllic scene, stood Phoenix, a figure of quiet intensity, his presence a still point in the swirling festivity. In his hands, he cradled a bouquet of flowers, unlike any Cherry had ever encountered. Cherry, a seasoned journalist with a sharp mind and an ingrained skepticism, was there to capture the festival's essence for her next feature. Her gaze, ever searching for the unusual, snagged on Phoenix and his luminous blooms. They pulsed with an ethereal, soft inner light, a gentle heartbeat of luminescence. If she strained her ears, she could almost discern a faint, melancholic hum emanating from them, a sound so subtle it felt more like a memory stirred than an actual auditory sensation. Phoenix, when she later inquired, called it the Earth's Lament, a sorrowful song of decay that only his unique flora could perceive and translate, a silent scream from a dying world. Driven by a journalistic curiosity that bordered on obsession, she approached him, her digital recorder discreetly tucked away, ready to capture every nuance. "Mr. Phoenix," she began, her voice professional, yet tinged with an undeniable intrigue. "Your flowers are truly extraordinary. You claim they sing of the earth's suffering." Phoenix turned, his eyes, deep and ancient like old river stones, met hers. There was no trace of fanaticism in his gaze, only a profound, almost sorrowful conviction that resonated with an unsettling truth. "They do not sing of suffering, Miss Cherry," he corrected gently, his voice a low, resonant hum that seemed to echo the very sound of his flowers. "They sing of imbalance, of a great, slow fading, a whisper that, if ignored, will inevitably become a roar." He extended a hand, offering her a single, luminous bloom. Its petals felt cool, almost alive, against her fingertips, and for a fleeting moment, the faint, mournful hum seemed to intensify, a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor in the very air around them. Cherry, ever the pragmatist, initially filed the encounter away as a quirky human interest piece, a poetic eccentricity for her column. She meticulously documented the beauty of the flowers, the captivating nature of Phoenix's claims, but intellectually dismissed the Earth's Lament as a poignant artistic metaphor. Yet, the image of that glowing flower, the unsettling conviction in Phoenix's eyes, and the lingering, almost phantom hum, refused to fade. She found herself returning to the riverside, not just for the festival, but drawn by an inexplicable, growing curiosity that gnawed at her journalistic objectivity. She observed Phoenix from a distance, noting how he moved with a quiet reverence, how his fingers seemed to coax secrets from the soil, how his flowers appeared to respond to his touch with an intensified, almost grateful glow. Her journalistic instincts, honed by years of uncovering hidden truths and sifting through layers of deception, began to prickle with an insistent urgency. She started noticing subtle, then not so subtle, anomalies, a strange, iridescent film shimmering on the river's surface that had never been there before, a disconcerting shift in the migratory patterns of local birds, their calls now more frantic, less melodic, their flight paths erratic. She interviewed environmental scientists, but their reports were invariably couched in cautious language, attributing the anomalies to natural variations or localized pollution, explanations that felt increasingly hollow. But Phoenix's flowers, when she held them close, seemed to hum louder, their light flickering with an almost anxious energy, as if mirroring the planet's distress. One evening, as she meticulously documented a peculiar bloom of toxic algae in a usually pristine pond, a shadow fell over her, cold and sharp. "Still chasing ghosts, Cherry?" The voice was cutting, laced with a cynical edge she knew all too well. It was Raspy, a rival journalist infamous for her aggressive investigative style, her cutting skepticism, and her uncanny ability to unearth inconvenient truths. She doubled as an airplane pilot. Raspy's eyes, though, held an intensity that mirrored Phoenix's, but hers was a desperate, almost frantic energy, a fire fueled by something more than professional rivalry. "This Earth's Lament is just a new age fad, a distraction from real issues," Raspy scoffed, gesturing dismissively at the glowing pond with a hand that trembled almost imperceptibly. "People want sensationalism, not poetry, Cherry. They want solutions, not vague warnings." Cherry felt an odd sense of déjà vu, a strange familiarity with Raspy's presence, as if they had met before or were destined to. Raspy's skepticism felt less like professional rivalry and more like a personal crusade, an almost desperate attempt to prevent something. Cherry found herself increasingly torn. Her logical mind struggled to reconcile Phoenix's poetic warnings with the cautious scientific data, yet the subtle, undeniable changes around her were becoming harder to ignore, harder to rationalize away. Phoenix, with his quiet wisdom, never pushed, never demanded belief. Instead, he invited her to observe, to listen, to feel. He took her to forgotten patches of forest where the leaves had lost their vibrant green, where the very air felt heavy and still. He showed her streams where the water ran sluggish and murky, devoid of life, and explained how his flowers, through their unique bioluminescence, were reacting to minute shifts in the planet's electromagnetic field, to the very heartbeat of the Earth faltering, growing weaker with each passing day. Their bond deepened through shared observation, through silent moments of witnessing the planet's slow decline. Cherry, the cynical journalist, found herself spending less time crafting articles and more time documenting the subtle, then not so subtle, signs of environmental distress. She saw the fear in Phoenix's eyes, a fear not for himself, but for the world he so deeply cherished, a world he felt slipping away. She began to understand that his poetry was not merely metaphor, but a desperate plea, a warning veiled in haunting beauty. The hum of his flowers became a constant, low thrum in her awareness, a mournful symphony that spoke of a planet in peril, a dirge for a dying world. Raspy, however, remained a persistent, increasingly disruptive shadow. She published scathing articles, meticulously debunking Phoenix's claims, accusing him of fear-mongering and exploiting environmental anxieties for personal gain. Her reports were filled with scientific jargon, carefully selected data that seemed to contradict Phoenix's intuitive understanding, painting him as a charlatan. Cherry suspected there was more to Raspy's antagonism than mere journalistic competition. There was an almost desperate urgency in Raspy's efforts to discredit Phoenix, a frantic energy that hinted at a deeper, unspoken motive. It was as if Raspy was fighting against an unseen enemy, or perhaps against herself, trying to prevent a future she desperately feared. As the weeks bled into months, the subtle signs of decay escalated into undeniable catastrophe. Rivers, once teeming with life, turned toxic, their surfaces slick with unnatural colors, reflecting a sky often choked with smog. Vast swathes of forest withered, their skeletal branches reaching towards a sky racked by violent, unpredictable storms. The air itself seemed heavier, laden with an unspoken dread, a pervasive sense of impending doom. Phoenix's flowers, once a gentle glow, now pulsed with an alarming, almost painful intensity, their collective hum, a desperate, high-pitched wail that pierced the growing silence of dying ecosystems, a final, desperate cry. Panic, once a distant echo, now gripped the world in its icy embrace. Governments scrambled, scientists issued increasingly dire warnings, but solutions seemed elusive, always just out of reach. It was during this global crisis, this precipice of despair, that the mother bloom was discovered, unearthed by a series of unprecedented seismic shifts in a remote, untouched valley. It was a colossal flower, its petals unfurling like a cosmic nebula, radiating an otherworldly light that seemed to draw all ambient light into its core. Its heart pulsed with a deep, resonant hum, a sound so profound it vibrated not just in the air, but in the very bones of those who stood near. It was both mournful and hopeful, a complex symphony of life and death, a primal song that spoke of creation and destruction, of endings and new beginnings. Phoenix, his face etched with exhaustion, but his spirit unwavering, recognized the mother bloom instantly. It is the Earth's heart, he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion, tears welling in his ancient heart. Its song is the planet's last, desperate plea for healing, its final hope. Cherry, now fully committed, her skepticism long vanished, documented every detail with a fierce dedication, her camera capturing the awe and terror in the eyes of the few who dared approach the colossal bloom. They worked tirelessly, Phoenix trying to interpret the mother bloom's complex frequencies, its intricate language, Cherry trying to communicate its profound significance to a world teetering on the brink of despair. Their bond, forged in shared purpose and mutual respect, deepened into an unspoken understanding, a silent promise to fight for the earth until their last breath. until hope was either found or lost forever. Raspy, however, intensified her interference to a dangerous degree. She wasn't just publishing articles anymore. She was actively trying to disrupt their efforts, to sabotage their every move. She spread insidious rumors that the Mother Bloom was a dangerous alien entity, a source of further contamination, a harbinger of even greater destruction. She somehow managed to hack into their communication channels, broadcasting distorted messages that sowed confusion and distrust among the desperate populace. There were even brazen attempts to physically interfere with their access to the Mother Bloom, to sabotage the delicate instruments Phoenix was using to record its ancient sound. Her actions were reckless, almost self-destructive, driven by an almost manic desperation that Cherry found increasingly unsettling, a desperation that felt deeply personal. It was as if Raspy was fighting against an unseen enemy, or perhaps against herself, against a future she knew all too well. One harrowing afternoon, as Phoenix and Cherry worked near the Mother Bloom, meticulously calibrating their instruments, a cataclysmic flash flood, born from days of relentless, unnatural rain, roared down the valley with terrifying speed. The ground trembled violently, the air filled with the deafening rush of water, and the colossal Mother Bloom, though ancient and mighty, seemed vulnerable, dwarfed by such raw, destructive power. Phoenix and Cherry fought against the torrent, desperate to protect the Earth's last hope, their own lives secondary to its survival. Through the swirling chaos, they saw Raspy, caught in the deluge, struggling against the raging currents, her face a mask of terror and confusion, her eyes wide with a dawning horror. She was dangerously close to the Mother Bloom, its pulsating light and resonant hum enveloping her as the floodwaters swirled violently around her, threatening to pull her into its depths. The immense energy of the Mother Bloom song, amplified by the trauma of the flood and the raw desperation of the moment, acted as a powerful, unforeseen catalyst. As the water slammed into Raspy, a torrent of fragmented memories, suppressed and re-engineered, surged through her mind with blinding speed. Her eyes widened, not with fear of the flood, but with a dawning, horrifying realization that ripped through her fractured consciousness. Images flashed before her, a desolate, dying future where the Earth was a barren wasteland, a desperate mission to prevent that future, a brutal re-engineering process that stripped her of her past, leaving only fractured directives, a directive to prevent this very catastrophe. But with her memories shattered, her methods had become distorted, antagonistic, almost self-sabotage. She saw herself, Cherry, standing beside Phoenix, working tirelessly to heal her. She saw the love, the hope, the despair, the unwavering desperation. She saw her own future and her own past, colliding in a maelstrom of conflicting truths, a paradox of time and purpose. The floodwaters began to recede, leaving behind a landscape of devastation, but miraculously, the Mother Bloom stood, its light still pulsing, its song still resonating, a beacon of fragile hope. Cherry, bruised and exhausted, her heart pounding, rushed towards the figure lying prone near the bloom. It was Raspy, her body trembling uncontrolled, her eyes wide and unfocused, tears streaming down her face, not of fear, but of profound grief and recognition. Raspy!
Terror clouds were fluttering, caught in the wind. In Cherry's soul, clarity stirred, no longer pain.
She knelt beside
and Phoenix, oh Phoenix, with flowers aglow, in this night of truth, there rose the show.
Her breath coming in ragged, desperate gasps. Her gaze locked onto Cherry's, filled with
Come yet, son, a storm on the brink. A prophecy, beauty, unity made us rethink. We're not here to dominate, not here to seize, but to hear with a whisper to help at ease.
Re-engineered, sent back to save us all, but I lost my way. The revelation hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications, a paradox unfolding before their eyes. Phoenix arrived, his face grim, but his ancient eyes softened as he took in the scene, understanding dawning within. Raspy, with a newfound clarity that was both agonizing and liberating, began to explain, her words tumbling out in a torrent of confession, of fragmented memories piecing themselves back together. She had been sent back from a future where the Earth had indeed perished, a last-ditch effort by a desperate remnant of humanity, a final gamble against extinction. Her memories had been fragmented, her directives muddled by the re-engineering process, designed to prevent a paradox. She was meant to guide, to warn, but her fractured mind had perceived Phoenix and Cherry's efforts as a threat, a deviation from the correct path she vaguely remembered, a path that led to her own past. Her antagonism was a desperate, misguided attempt to force a different outcome, to protect her past self and Phoenix from the inevitable doom she carried in her fragmented memories. She had been trying to save them, but in her broken state, she had only hindered, only caused more pain. With Raspy's full memories restored, the pieces of the complex puzzle clicked into place with a chilling precision. Her future knowledge, combined with Phoenix's intuitive understanding of the Earth's ancient song and Cherry's unparalleled ability to communicate complex truths to the masses, formed an unstoppable force, a trinity of hope. They worked together, not just to amplify the Mother Bloom's song through advanced technology, but to translate its profound message into a universal call to action, a language understandable to all humanity. Raspy's insights into the future's mistakes, her vivid memories of a world lost, provided invaluable guidance, helping humanity understand the true cost of their actions and illuminating the path to genuine healing. Cherry, with her journalistic prowess, broadcasted their message globally, her words now carrying the weight of a future averted, a hope rekindled, a second chance for all. The Mother Bloom's song, amplified and finally understood, resonated across the entire planet, a symphony of renewal. It was a melody of interconnectedness, a lullaby for a wounded world. Humanity, united by the shared threat and the miraculous hope, responded with unprecedented collective action, a global awakening. Rivers began to clear, their waters sparkling once more. Forests slowly regained their verdant glory, their leaves rustling with renewed life, and the air, once heavy with despair, became crisp and clean, filled with the scent of new growth. The earth, bruised but resilient, began its slow, miraculous recovery, a testament to the power of collective will and a second chance. As the planet healed, a profound peace settled over Raspy. Her mission was complete, her purpose fulfilled. She didn't disappear, nor did she remain a separate, distinct entity. Instead, her consciousness, having fulfilled its arduous purpose, gently integrated with Cherry's. It wasn't a loss of self, but an expansion, a deepening of wisdom and empathy that enriched Cherry. Cherry felt a new strength, a deeper, almost primal understanding of the Earth's rhythms, a profound connection to the past and the future, a bridge between what was and what could be. Raspy's love, her sacrifice, her desperate journey through time became an indelible part of Cherry's being, a guiding light that echoed through every action, every word, every beat of her heart. Her love, a timeless melody, resonated through the healing earth, a testament to the enduring power of hope, the unbreakable bond between humanity and the planet called home, and the infinite possibilities of a future incredible.
Forever is guilt-free, is only natural as any a friend can be. In the quiet riverside's hum, three hearts whisper the time has come. United they stand as a prophecy looms, ready to face the song of a world's possible doom.